So this is Chapter 5 Part A Assignment. Our first thing is we must identify our map objective. In this case, your objective is given to you to be, we want to show the locations of hospitals and their relationships to densely populated counties. So our audience is college freshmen, so we can assume they know nothing, right? Our medium is going to be paper. It's going to be a paper map delivered in a digital format via PDF file. The data has been pre-selected and given to you in this map document. The coordinate system is going to be North American datum 1983, Oregon, statewide, Lambert, which is already set for you as well. So which layer should receive the highest visual hierarchy? I think the hospitals should be the highest, followed closely by the counties based on their population per square mile. So let's start there. So we'll use the standard hospital symbol for hospitals. So I can click on the hospital symbol and bring up the symbol selector. I'll scroll down until I find the hospital 1 symbol. I'm going to select it. Okay. And so the next thing is to set our counties. We want to show the population per square mile. So is the population per square mile a category or a quantity? It's a quantity. So knowing that, we're going to go in, we're going to right click our counties, select properties. In the symbology tab in this left hand panel, because population density is a quantity, we're going to select quantities, graduated colors, and we're going to use the pop10 underscore SQMI, which stands for the population of 2010 per square mile. So that's a population density that we're looking for. We're not going to need to normalize it in this case, and we're going to use this nice orange shade of color ribbon here. So we can pick OK. And you may notice that your counties aren't showing up, and that's because of the order that they're arranged in the table of contents. So from my table of contents view, and I have to be in list by drawing order view in order to change this, but I want to rearrange. So my first layer will be hospitals, then cities, then rivers, and then counties, and then finally followed by the Oregon state boundaries. So things like rivers and lakes should use standard symbols. So let's go ahead and set our river to the standard river symbol. So I can click on it and choose my river symbol. Okay. You know, in my mind, that's kind of well, we'll get back to that when we come into the review. So let's move on. So the next thing we might want to do is adjust the symbols for our cities. We can use, I tend to like the dots inside the colored circles, and then we can use a nice shade that won't be too difficult to see, and you can notice that it's hard to see the cities because they're covered up with the hospital icons. So if we change the order, I think that might help us see the cities a little bit better, but our city symbol is probably a little bit too large, so we're going to go in and change that down from 18 to maybe 8. Alright, so we can see our cities there, and they're not covering up our hospitals too much, so it looks pretty good. Next, we can adjust the border for the Oregon layer, which is the state boundaries. So what I'm looking for here is a dark black line. So I'm going to click the symbol for the Oregon. I'm going to use the hollow, and I'm going to adjust the color to black, and we're going to go up 4 points. Pick OK. Now we can start to rearrange or balance the sheet. It shouldn't take long to realize that the legend is really poor. So when I look at this, the labels don't make any sense. They all start with OR. What does pop10 underscore SQMI mean? Why so many decimal places? Remember, this map is for college freshmen, and they won't understand any of that. So it's easy enough to rename the layers. You do this in the table of contents, and the results are updated to the legend. So with a real slow, deliberate double click, basically the first click will highlight the layer, and the second click will let you rename it. So I'm going to change this one to hospitals. Cities to major cities. Rivers. And I'm going to adjust the pop square mile here. So that's going to be population per square mile. Unfortunately, I've already adjusted my decimal places, but I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to go into the county's properties. So I've selected the county's layer, right click, choose properties. On the symbology tab, I'm going to right click on one of these labels and choose format labels. And I'm going to set the number of decimal places to 1 decimal place instead of 6. So I'm going to pick OK and OK. So we can see that our legend is much better than it was before, but I still think there's some things that we can do to improve it. I don't think we need to see perhaps the state boundary altogether, so let's take that one out. So I'm going to double click the legend to go into the properties of the legend. And on the General tab, I'm going to choose Oregon, and I'm going to remove that from the list with the left arrow. I also don't really want to see the word legend, so I can uncheck the show title and pick OK. If you're not sure about the differences between the OK and Apply button, you should know the differences now. The OK button will apply the changes that you've made and close the dialog box. The Apply button will apply the changes you made and leave the dialog box open. So the legend is looking pretty good. I'd like to change the way the columns are addressed here. So I'm going to go back into the legend properties by double clicking it, or I can right click and choose properties. And I'm going to use the items tab. I want to put the Oregon's county in a new column. So what that's going to do is going to keep hospitals, major cities, and rivers in one column and start a new column for the population per square mile. So I'm going to check that place in new column. I've got Oregon counties highlighted and pick apply. You can see the difference there. So we're looking better. I'm going to adjust the style of the way the Oregon counties is displayed. So I'll pick Oregon counties, and I'm going to use this style button. And I'm going to choose this horizontal bar with heading labels, description on an angle. So pick OK, and I'm going to apply that. So now I'm getting pretty happy with that. I could maybe I could experiment to see if I wanted everything on its own layer or own column. We can look at that and see how it would look. If you like that, that might be better. Maybe kind of experiment and see which that you like. I think I'm going to leave them and just have 2 separate columns like that. And I'm pleased with that. Okay, so the legend looks pretty good. The scale bar needs some work. Not crazy about the scale bar, particularly because of the value. So if it were 150, I would be pleased, or if it were 200, I'd be pleased. So I'm going to experiment with just dragging the thing until I get something that makes me happy. The north arrow, this is kind of an odd, I had one student turn their north arrow in up here before, but that's kind of an odd place. Usually it's pretty close to the scale bar, or the legend, somewhere where you're going to be looking to find that information. Maybe we'll put it right there. There's some pretty neat tools that you can use align-wise. We can pick these items and right-click and pick Align. Getting kind of out of my, you can't see that there. I'm going to move these items up here just so you can see. When I right-click and choose Align, I can align them vertical center. I can move them back now. So they're all kind of vertically centered up with one another. So we're looking pretty good now. I'm going to go ahead and work on the title a little bit. So that's kind of a poor place to put the title. I'll drag this over to somewhere that's a little more appropriate. If we wanted to adjust the size of that, we could use the draw toolbar and adjust the text size, or you could double click it. Okay, so I want to adjust the name text here to include your name. And I might want to kind of make add some neat lines or something. So maybe I'm going to select my legend, hold the control key in and select my scale bar and north arrow, and I'm going to choose insert neat line, and I'm going to place around selected elements. So I'm going to use a single line border, and I'm going to pick OK. And so now that put a line around. Now notice there's not much spacing here, so I'm going to right click and choose the properties, and I'm going to add some gap here, probably 5 points in both the X and Y values, and also with the background color being white. So that kind of helped out a little bit. We can when I look at this, just to take kind of the final review, visual hierarchy really isn't where I want it to be right now. The rivers are kind of taken away from that. So I'm going to do something to kind of dilute the rivers a little bit. So I'm going to go into the properties of the rivers layer, and on the display tab, I'm going to make them somewhat transparent. So I'm going to just kind of trial and error this with starting with 30%. I'll pick apply, and let's go a little more. So let's go 60%. So that kind of helped take the emphasis less on those rivers. So I like that. Another thing that I'm not real satisfied with is how the outline of the counties are. I think we want those counties to pop a little bit more. So I'm going to go into the properties of the counties layer, symbology, and I'm going to right click on one of these symbols and choose actually I need to right click up here on the word symbol, properties for all symbols, and the outline color is this gray, so I'm going to just change it to black. Pick OK. OK, and so you can see that really made those county boundaries pop out a little bit more. I think our hospitals have good emphasis. My cities, I still can't see them, so I got to drag them above the hospitals. And I'm not real crazy about the size of that, so I think I want to go up a little bit, probably to 10 points, and maybe change that pink color to maybe an aqua green. Yeah, that stands out a little bit better. So now I'm pretty happy. So there's only a couple of little minor things left to do now. So I'm not crazy about the way the north arrow is setting right on my neat line border, so I'm just going to kind of grab it and scoot it over a little bit. Try not to move it too much up and down, and I might even make it a little bit bigger. Not much, but a little bit. So it looks about right. Everything's looking pretty good visually. I'm still wanting to make sure that the objective of the map is to understand the hospitals in relation to the populated areas. So, maybe we need to label the cities. So we can do that. It's one thing we can do. And maybe we could label the counties. Now I think I would want to try to make a distinction between the cities labels and the counties labels, and I'd probably give more emphasis on the city labels. So I'm going to go into the cities properties, look at the labels tab, and one of the ways I'm going to give some hierarchy to this is to use a larger label size, and I'm going to change the font also to a sans serif. So we'll pick OK. Still really can't get too much distinction there, so maybe I'm going to add a halo now to that font. So I'm just kind of trial and erroring here. So I'm going to go back into the properties, and I'm going to adjust the symbol, and I'm going to edit the symbol, select the mask tab, and I'm going to put a 2-point halo mask on there. So I'm going to pick OK, OK, and so that helped me kind of distinguish the cities from the counties pretty good, and the cities are definitely getting the emphasis with that halo. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I think what I'll do is export that to a PDF file and ready to go.